everyone.
Hey, hey.
Here's some. Right. So it's after the break. I'm pretty sure it's redirect from this point, but they do have some court matters. Some other jazz. But you ready to go?
Yeah.
Right, let's go.
Your Honor, I'm just looking, they just handed me the documents they want to put in.
Okay, go ahead and review and let me know if there is any objection. Is that our presence? Everyone please be seated. Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Anderson, does Dr. Chopra need to step outside or this witness to talk about the issue that you want to talk about?
So
so far
it's
with this witness,
it's gone back. So now it's just like a case of trying to find it again.
YouTube did its thing.
Even though I don't know. Strange. Anyway, sorry.
right? I mean, we don't need you at sidebar at this point. What are the, is there an agreement or are there objections?
There are objections not to the complete document, but there's objections to the introduction of explanations of court hearings, court strategy, and the DCF.
Time out. Just tell me specifically what pages we're talking about. In Exhibit 3035.
3035-12 would be one of the ones that if we're going to go into this with this witness, I would want recross on.
12, and then what are the others?
3035-22 and 3035-23.
Okay, so can someone put up 12, 3035-12? And what is the objection, Mr. Anderson?
I think these are together, but if you look down under 3 p.m., Kathy stated parents are still in court reviewing patient's case with judge, and they do not anticipate meeting will conclude before 5 p.m. And my concern with this, Your Honor, is that I don't know what this witness is going to say once they open the door to the DCF matter, because I have not briefed him or prepped him, so he knows the rules. And so when we get into the DCF stuff, I think it's going to be the Wild Wild West. And this is loaded with it, including, if you see the next page, Judge would like appointment to be scheduled sometime tomorrow morning. We're going to be starting to try the DCF case too. So if you look at the next page, it's more clear.
Page 22.
Yes. So this part. Yeah, CPS has been contacted and is going to come to All Children's this afternoon to begin their investigation. I thought that what's the date of that? I thought that was out of evidence in terms of being used for cross-examination, but.
Well, here's where I'm at right now, Mr. Anderson. Again, this is all predicated on what you're going to do with this witness. If I already told you, if you wanted to go into 3035-0024 with this witness, I'm going to let you do it. But so far, and these other documents will probably come in so far. I mean, and yeah, there's some things in here that I'd rather not be, but the Nemours issue probably is going to have to get explained somehow to the jury anyway.
Well, it's fairly complex, and again, what happens if the witness who doesn't hear anything, doesn't know anything, starts telling what he knows about the DCF investigation, how unfair it was, all of the different things that we're alleging. I don't know what his knowledge is on that, Judge, and so it's very likely, I think, that we're going to get a lot more. This particular point here that they're trying to raise, I think can be covered in other ways, but the main thrust of this is that they're getting DCF involved. It's the 9th. It's 2 days after they came in.
Well, again, this is predicated on what you're going to do. And, I'm not going to tell you how to try your case. It sounds like you don't need this witness to talk about the issue that you want to talk about, but hey, if you feel like you want this witness to make those comments, then I'm going to let you address the 0024 document. But on cross-examination, then I'm going to let them address at least 12 and 22. I haven't looked at 23 yet. So if you don't go there, then we don't need to make any rulings. If you do, then we will. So it's up to you.
My biggest concern is I was hoping to have a couple extra hours this afternoon, which are rapidly evaporating. If they're just going to use those two, fine.
Well, there's a third one. I didn't look at
I haven't
23.
seen the third one either.
Would be potentially 303.523. No, that's one. You don't want. No, that's one. Okay, I guess not that one then.
Not 23?
We'll take that one.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon. We'll take 23.
Yeah, 303.523 would be the potential.
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
take 23.
Put 23
Can we
back
get
up,
those
please.
printed out somehow?
Yeah, we'll take 23 as well.
I'd like to use a highlighter. We're kind of on a spur of the moment here. Do we have the ability to?
Okay, so let me be clear that because I'm going to allow 3035-24, we're also going to allow in 12, 22, and 23. Is that correct?
That appears to be it.
Mr. Shapiro, do you agree?
One moment. Mind if I just get a proffer from the plaintiff of exactly what he plans to ask the doctor, only because the doctor said he doesn't know anything about the Moors. And so I'm trying to get a sense of how deep this is about to go and how we're responsible,
Well,
because
let's-
obviously we don't want to open up the door.
Let's bring in the doctor, put him on the stand, and see what happens
Okay.
outside the presence of the jury. Is we're going to ask you some questions outside the presence of the jury, and then we may or may not ask them again in front of the jury. Mr. Anderson.
May it please the court. Doctor, in your files, do you have the Nemours Hospital records? Do you know?
I don't think I have them. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. If I showed you a particular Nemours document, then in evidence, do you think you can identify this as a Nemours transfer notice? Let me show it. May I show it to him?
Let's just put it on the screen.
Let's put it on.
My impression was that Nemours refused admission.
Exactly, but we were talking now about the reasons why.
And when you say put this document, you mean 3035-0024?
Yes, sir.
Can I have one of the IT folks put it up, please?
If you could read that, Doctor.
So this is just to save time, this is a evaluation report on Maya.
This was a Nemours order for the transfer of Maya Kowalski and the reasons that it was rejected ultimately. And I wanted to ask you a question. I know in the interest of time, assume Jack and Beata Kowalski had researched and determined that Nemours does not have a comprehensive CRPS program.
I object to this. This,
We don't have a jury. Let's get the information out first. Then you can talk to us about your objections. Now, again, Mr. Anderson, let's not make predicate statements. Let's just ask the questions.
Yes, sir. Assume Jack and Beata Kowalski had researched and determined that Nemours did not have a comprehensive CRPS inpatient program. And assume further that the research revealed that it would be more of the PT that she had been through about 4 times. Assume further that from this form, as you can read, that the transfer to Nemours was based in part on Munchausen's by proxy assigned by Dr. Dees, who is not a psychiatrist or psychologist, let the record reflect. It says right there, pediatric hospitalist. And so, do you have an opinion, assuming those facts, as to whether the actions of Jack and Beata Kowalski in rejecting the Johns Hopkins reasons and methods of transferring Maya to Nemours in Orlando?
I object to that question.
We're proper.
I'm allowed to object before this. My objection is multiple. It's the court asked the plaintiff not to give a predicate, and then he just gave 6 predicates. But in addition to that, he's asking now the plaintiff to speculate on the state of mind of the parents. He's not disclosed as an expert on either and judge the reasonableness of their conduct.
Okay. Well, to the one thing I heard is you're now asking him an opinion. It sounds like this opinion wasn't disclosed. Is that correct?
He had no opinion about transfer unavailability.
Well, they were going to, I'm sure, open that door. I felt like they did on their cross. That's why I stood up.
Well, they opened up the door about Nemours. That doesn't mean this witness can give opinions that hadn't been previously addressed or disclosed.
I would. I can't remember the specific 2 or 3 questions, but my memory is that the questions were designed to give the jury the impression that somehow the Kowalskis had misbehaved or done something wrong in rejecting the Nemours transfer. That was clearly the thrust of them. To me, that opens the door for me to point out that they turned it down because it was based on, in part, Munchausen's by proxy, and I believe one of these codes here is from conversion disorder for Maya.
Why isn't this testimony from Mr. Kowalski?
It can be, but I think...
To me, I didn't realize you were going to ask him an opinion that had not been disclosed. So on that basis, no, this witness can't testify to an undisclosed opinion.
Well, can he testify to anything having to do with his experience and the narrative provided affecting the treatment of the child and the family?
I don't understand your question.
Can I show him this? And he's obviously aware of the prior questioning, and ask him whether his experience would be that this transfer notice being signed by the Kowalskis, is it...
Time out. Sir, do you know anything about the possible transfer to Nemours?
All I know is that Nemours refused transfer.
Okay. How did you come to that information?
It's somewhere in the records. That's the only way I would have known.
Do you know any of the details as to why the transfer was refused?
There was no details, but can I just put in something?
Sure.
If I were, as a physician, and with 30 years of experience, if I saw the word Munchausen by proxy, I don't want that patient.
Okay. Anything else?
That would probably be a pretty good question if allowed. Having seen the Nemours transfer notice, would you, as a physician, want to accept the patient? Answer, I gather, is no. And then I would ask him why.
I'm going to object to that as an undisclosed opinion. My questions to him about transfer were very specific to malpractice claims, meaning there was an allegation from Dr. Chopra that my client committed malpractice and not giving her the proper therapy. The only reason I was asking about transfer is part of the defense of that is all Children's tried to make a transfer of the patient to a center in Nemours that specializes in comprehensive regional pain syndrome and in the rehabilitation of that, and that was not consented to. It had nothing to do with his state of mind about whether a mom should want to, purely as a defense of a malpractice claim, that very narrow issue.
Well, here's where I'm at. The issue of Nemours, I think the defense has opened that door. And you're going to be able to call whatever witness or witnesses to explain. It doesn't sound like, other than seeing some sort of reference in the records, he really has details as to what happened or didn't happen with respect to the proposed transfer. And so I don't think this is the witness for you to go into that.
I have a possible solution then. I'm happy to not go into this with this witness. If the court enters an instruction that strikes the three questions about the transfer to Nemours because they were asked before it was put into evidence.
Yeah, but there was testimony about it 2 days ago as well. So it's...
I probably objected at that time too.
I don't recall. I really don't recall.
Well, our problem is this, Judge. If we're going into this, the jury should not be left hanging with this impression that Beata and Jack were being unreasonable. We have a right to rehabilitate, or whatever you want to call it, by pointing out that if they sign this, they're signing on to agreeing to Munchausen by proxy, among other things. And it's just not fair to our side that if the jury hears one side of that story, they won't hear the other side.
And again, I've said that you can call witnesses because the door has been opened. The reality is, I'm not going to allow in an undisclosed opinion. I think that's pretty clear. And it sounds like you're now trying to get him to make assumptions or assume a hypothetical to give an opinion that he has not previously given prior to today. That's no issue with Dr. Chopra because I don't think this was something that was ever asked of him. So, I told you earlier, if you're going to want to show this record, that's fine, but you can't ask him opinions that were undisclosed. And once you show that document, we're showing the other documents that we were talking about. So,
well, it really puts me in a dilemma here, and it's not a dilemma of my making. And the defense was allowed to ask questions of for a witness for documents that were not in evidence, thus leaving the jury with a certain impression. So if
Mr. Anderson, I just need you to decide.
Can we have 1 moment, Your Honor?
Well,
Literally 30 seconds.
Dr. Chopra, I'm showing you Exhibit 3035-0024. Do you have it in front of you?
Yes.
And does there appear to be a series of diagnoses in the middle of the page by a Dr. Dees, a pediatric hospitalist?
Yes.
And is one of the diagnoses assigned by Dr. Dees Munchausen by proxy?
Yes.
If you turn the page, is there...
I can turn it somebody else.
That's all right. But there's a second page for a place to sign, which we'll bring up. And that's all I'll ask you. Was there a place where the Kowalskis were supposed to sign to agree to this for transfer? That's my own. Those are three factual questions.
There's no place for the patient or the patient's representative to sign.
Well, it says E level, encounter E level signatures, order level documents, and so forth. It's kind of in bureaucratese, but this is, I believe, what they were presented with.
He gave his answer.
All right, so I don't ask him about the signature page.
I don't know what encounter level e-signature means.
E-signature is one that's sent through the court. Yes.
He doesn't know.
Okay.
So
I
I'm
can
not
ask
going to tell him for him to turn around and say it. So
Well, I understand, Judge.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask the factual questions here because I don't want the jury left with that impression. And it could be 4 or 5 days before we call Jack Kowalski.
If I understand, Mr. Anderson wants to address with Dr. Chopra the reasonableness of accepting transfer with a diagnosis of Munchausen in the record as an undisclosed opinion.
I think at this point it's just the last 3 or 4 questions, the factual questions he asked about the document.
And the problem with that is the redirect, if the implication, I don't think this is a secret, if the implication is going to be that we would have accepted a transfer except now that there's a diagnosis in the record, it's going to open up a redirect on the fact that it was also in the record in 40 other medical records and providers from Lurie's to et cetera. And I don't know how much of this I need to get in front of this witness. It's just
That's a difference between a diagnosis and a theory.
Here's where I'm at. Those questions that you just asked Mr. Anderson, except for the parent signature question, I'm fine, and I'm fine with the 0024 and 25. But if you go there, I'm going to allow 12, 22, and 23 as well. So I just need you to decide right here, right now, whether you're going to use this witness to do it, have this discussion, or you're going to call someone else down the road. And I know you feel like you're in a box, but at this point in time, you got to make a decision.
Well, over my objection, I probably at this point will hold off, with the document. But I will ask questions about does he know the basis for the transfer? Does he know the basis for the transfer in part was Munchausen by proxy?
Okay.
Is that okay?
If you're basically now going to ask him questions off of this document, I see that as the same thing as us introducing and showing the jury the document. So
That's pretty much the way I felt when on their
Mr.
cross-examination.
Anderson, we are where we're at. Do you want to use this witness to talk about the Nemours issue as I just outlined, or are you not?
One moment. Very difficult. I don't know. It's very difficult. One more question of him and then
In proffer or
Proffer.
outside or with the jury?
proffer.
Okay.
Are you able to identify this as a transfer form as opposed to something else?
This is a report of an admitting nurse from Nemours.
Okay. And can you see from this document why we have an admitting nurse at Nemours giving this report?
Yeah, I would object to the speculation.
You can answer the question. Sir, do you know the answer?
If you don't know,
What's
you
the
don't
question?
know. Yeah, the
Sorry.
question is, do you know why and at this juncture, a transfer nurse was involved.
Well, yes, that I know. All children's wanted to transfer Maya to Nemours for rehabilitation.
And then what does the diagnosis in part show as a reason assigned by Dr. Dees to transfer her over?
It shows Munchausen by proxy.
And in your opinion, did this child have Munchausen by proxy? That is in the report and in the record.
Absolutely not.
Right. I'll use it.
Anything before I bring in the jury?
I don't think so.
So to be clear, at this point in time, and I'm not making this, but are we admitting 3035, 12, 22, 23, 24, and 25? Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe so, Judge.
Oh, wait.
I do not. There's a portion of that, I beg your pardon, Judge. There's a portion of 24, I believe it is, that does make reference to dependency court proceedings that I would like to redact before it gets admitted to evidence.
Well, again, I'm not fond of this entire exercise, but be that as it may, I feel like Johns Hopkins, by its questioning, has put the issue of Nemours squarely into contention here, and the plaintiff has a right to discuss that.
I don't quibble with that a bit, Judge. That's not the point. That's not the point of what I'm saying.
If they'll withdraw the testimony, the attempted cross on something that was not in evidence, then I'm fine and we can go home.
Just for the record, I didn't question the doctor on a single record from the Moors. It was about the records from all children that were in evidence.
Yeah, the testimony that is, the testimony stands at this point. So the question is, and again, it's the same question I asked you 10 or 15 minutes ago. Are you going to want to use this witness to talk about those factual questions that we just were talking about and your opinion on Munchausen by proxy that you just elicited, or are you not?
How long do you plan to go today, Judge?
What can I do to get an answer out of you?
I think
Okay, so then my question is 12, 22, 23, 24, and 25, and I now am hearing from Mr. Hunter that he has an objection to 25, which we should have probably told me 30 or 45 minutes ago. So
It's basically the bottom of 24, Judge.
can someone put up 24, please?
is that 24?
Okay, what specifically are you talking about?
It makes reference to having an order in place.
Just tell me the specific language that you're talking about.
Patient.
Patient must
Just
have
go ahead and
court
say
order.
it, Judge, I'm sorry.
So the patient must have court order in place to be transferred?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
I was talking about the reference to the court order, and there was one in here earlier that there was reference being made to the family being in court in front of the judge and would not be available until the next morning. That was what I was really concerned about.
I mean, is it any surprise to the jury that there were dependency court proceedings going on? And we're not trying that case, but
Okay, as long as that's understood, go ahead, Judge, I'm sorry.
okay. So the court at this time, Madam Clerk, is going to receive 3035 pages 12, 22, 23, 24, and 25. And let's go ahead and bring in the jury.
Okay. think gonna stop it there. I need to look at these things that they've brought up. Don't know about you, but I need the thoughts.
It's a lot of swampling around. It seems like Maya, as a lawyer, doesn't know where he's standing.
What I'm confused about is, why does he have to make a decision on that? Why can't he talk about that form with this witness as well as Jack Kowalski? If it was me, and I'm not a lawyer, but if it was me, I would use it with Jack Kowalski. If I was only allowed to use one, I'd use it with Jack.
Yeah.
Because he would know why they refused it.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the two parents. Okay. Right. Do you want me to read it out or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. 12:36. CM received a call from Kathy, social worker from All Children's Johns Hopkins. So that's Kathy Beatty. Per Kathy, she stated that a solid decision had not been provided. Judge would like to have a representative from Nemours to help answer questions related to the care of the patient would receive at Nemours and the exact orders needed for transfer. Judge would like appointment to be scheduled sometime tomorrow morning. 12:49. CM contacted medical team regarding the above. Medical team agreed to All Children's in a meeting via phone conference at their assigned location. Times proposed are 10:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. 1:09 p.m. CM contacted Kathy with possible appointment times to present to the court. Kathy stated she will contact the court to inquire if this would be possible. Kathy agreed to call back with an update. Some other time later, CM received a call back from Kathy. Kathy stated the parents are still in court reviewing the patient's case with the judge, and they do not anticipate the meeting will conclude before 5 p.m. As a result, Kathy stated there will not be a meeting tomorrow morning with the judge. She stated that a meeting may in fact take place sometime late next week. Okay. So, telephone encounter. Sophie Rodriguez, registered nurse. Incoming call from All Children's Transfer Center. Dr. Malik requesting to speak with intensive and pain specialist. Intensivist. Intensive. Whatever. Connected to Dr. Fagum, sorry, from PICU, explained that pain management is not a 24/7 service at NCH, but will be consulted on the transfer request tomorrow, Monday, 10th of October. Handoff received. Per report, patient presented to ED with pain abdominal, admitted to PICU. DT reported history of RSD and CRPS for pain management, which has included Precedex, ketamine, and propofol infusions. Pending items prior to acceptance/transfer. One, I'm really, I can't. I know the word, but I can't say it.
Hmm.
Anesthesia. I know the word. I just pain management consult. Sorry. 2, behavioral health consult. 3, follow up on child protection team notes. Consult done by all children's twice. 4, updated handoff with PICU intensivist. 5, pre-authorization and approval by face sheet requested from transfer center. Telephone encounter by Amber whatever. Someone called Amber, registered nurse. Oh god, Dr. Fagin. Sorry, such a child. Connected to Dr. Smith at All Children's today at 12:45. I'm just going to say Dr. F. Dr. F discussed the case with Dr. Santana earlier this morning. Dr. Santana feels concerned regarding the mother's expectations of inserting an invasive device to manage this patient's CRPS. This is not standard therapy in the pediatric setting and not a procedure that Dr. Santana would perform. Dr. Santana does not feel that this patient should be accepted as an inpatient, but she would be more than willing to see the patient in the outpatient setting. Dr. Smith was provided the clinic number to schedule an outpatient appointment with Dr. Santana once the patient is discharged. There is a concern regarding the mother's involvement in this patient's care. CPS have been contacted and is going to come to All Children's this afternoon to begin their investigation. So that was the 10th of October.
Hmm.
Honestly, this judge is irritating me. That's the same one.
It sounds like you're not allowed to worry about your child.
Heaven forbid you care about your child's well-being and, mental and physical health. Fucking heaven forbid. Telephone encounter, all notes included. So this is the same one, I think. Is it? No. Is it? It says continued. No, it's not. Received a call at 12:04 from Dr. Smith from ACH. The mother of this patient is requesting to speak to our physicians regarding the transfer of her daughter. Mom feels that Dr. Smith has not provided complete information and that she is allowed to speak to our physician that they would transfer her daughter to place an the spine pump thing. We'll confer with our physicians and then call Dr. Smith back. Spoke to Dr. F and Dr. Torres regarding the mother's request. Dr. Torres agreed to have a conference call between Dr. Smith, the mother, and himself, and would also like Dr. Santana to also be involved if available. 13:44, a return call was made to Dr. Smith, letting her know that our physicians have agreed to a conference call with Dr. Torres and Dr. Santana. At 15:15, a conference call was connected with all parties. The mother gave her daughter's history and discussed her wishes for a plan of care. Dr. Santana provided the mother with an explanation as to why her wishes were not in the best interest of her daughter. Dr. Santana reassured the mother that she would be happy to see her daughter as an outpatient in her pain clinic and provided her a brief overview of what her pain clinic entails. Dr. Santana obtained the mother's number to help set up an appointment. Mother was agreed with this plan. So, how is Beata not willing to follow through with stuff? I'm confused.
Some, yeah.
Okay. Care coordination, progress notes or notes. Progress notes by Emily A. Shropshire, registered nurse. Or RN. I'm assuming it's author type registered nurse. IP rehab admissions coordinator note. 11/2/16, travel to All Children's Johns Hopkins Hospital to assess patient for possible IP rehab admission with Sandra Perez, MSW. Met with Dana Cotis, interim director of case management. Then it's got either a case number or a phone number. And Kathy, MSW for PICU, to review case. Authorization placed to Atina via fax by Dana Cotes from Johns Hopkins. Rehab, I think DX means direct or directory. Code and then code number. Muscle atrophy of BL, lower extremities. RT Munchausen by proxy assigned by Dr. D's pediatric hospitalist. Oh, it's PED's hospital. That's pediatric, right? Will continue to follow for pending authorization with a OW for authorization, requested all medical records for the past 7 days and received a packet from Dana. Advised by Kathy, patient's mom is not allowed to see patient. Patient's brother, age 9, and father have supervised visitation with patient by DCF. DCF trying to locate medical foster family in St. Pete area for discharge. Please see note by S. Perez for further details. Patient must have court order in place to be transferred to Nemours Children's Hospital. Inpatient rehab arrangements have been made by Lindsay, DCF worker for this, and are pending. Met with patient at bedside with Perez present, 10-year-old female with HX of complex regional pain syndrome, reflex sympathetic dystrophy, AOX3 in wheelchair, fully dressed with makeup on. Jesus, they're really shit on. Patient refused to wheelchair towards couch to talk. Patient requested Sandra wheelchair to me. It could clearly move arms to do so. It stated she was in pain all over. Her disease was very complex and rare. She refused moving her legs.
She couldn't.
Okay. BL, lower extremities muscle dystrophy, noted that patient recoiled too much. Patient refused to allow you to hurt her.
Yes, they are literally stealing the child also.
Well, medical foster family. So they were planning to steal Maya.
Yeah.
It's kidnapping. I will say that Dr. Sally Smith has been involved in hundreds of children being separated from their parents, and the parents have done nothing wrong. There are dozens of mainly fathers in prison to this point because of bullshit that Dr. Sally Smith has set in motion. If I'm 100% honest, she needs to be taken to court, because what she's doing is child abuse,
Yeah.
mental anguish, emotional torture.
But she's protected by the hospital. There is no way getting her that way.
I wish they'd show number 25, which is where they have the objections to. Medical foster family. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
So they planted out a foster family for her as well. That's literally just stealing a child.
It's kidnapping.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's not, I'm saying it's kidnapping because all of Maya's treating physicians said it was CRPS. All of them.
Well,
It was Sally Smith that said it must be Munchausen by proxy. She was the one that got the ball rolling on it all.
Oh yeah.
I thought that that the Kowalskis had to sign a form saying that they wouldn't sue the hospital. In fact, I'm certain that is in the Netflix documentary, or else I wouldn't have fucking said it. I'd completely forgotten about the Munchausen by proxy diagnosis. I just want to see if there's another form coming up. There it is. Patient refused to scoot herself up in wheelchair and appeared uncomfortable in position. Requested I do it for her. Assisted patient in scooting up in wheelchair from underneath shoulders. She was able to finish movement without my touch. Patient became teary when speaking about if her parents could visit. Offered comfort and tissues. Patient able to curl herself into fetal position while crying in a chair and move all extremities to reposition herself without assistance. Patient gave hugs to myself and Sandra as well. Will continue to follow pending authorization for admission and court order for transfer along with all children's Johns Hopkins. So it seems very much like they think she's making it all up and she's being a bratty kid.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me.
And they're ready for placing her in foster family for that.
No, Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
Well, Kathy Beatty, who also said to Maya that she could adopt her.
Yeah.
And be her new mom. Whilst having Maya in her lap.
Or Children's Hospital.
There's just why couldn't they just said patient refused and requested assistance?
Yeah.
Why did they have to put requested quotations? I do it for her.
Yeah.
Why? What? Patient able to curl herself up into fetal position while crying in chair. So, clearly, if they have a program that's for CRPS, meaning they should know if they're getting a patient for CRPS treatment, They should know what it is because they're treating her, or would be. They should know that it varies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did not know what it was. They just said that they treated that.
Well, it's not that they didn't know. They didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because Beata came in
Yeah.
telling them what to do. That was the problem.
Oh yeah. How dare someone tell them how to do?
I know this hasn't, like, I've said this before, but I really do think maybe there was a sense of how dare this foreigner tell me what to do.
Yeah.
It's not been said, but that's just a feeling I get.
It looks very much like it.
I just... Because Beata, she has a thick accent, despite the fact that she's been in America for, many years. And I kind of just wonder if that might also not helped. As if it's like, you don't know how it works here. In this country, we do things this way. That type of horse shit,
Yeah.
And I hope it's not that, but the fact that they tried to kidnap Maya. They had kidnapped her.
Yeah.
And they were going to place her into a foster family. Like, they would have... If Jack and Beata weren't as strong-headed... I mean, Jack was folding like a deck of cards because he thought if he folded... The more he folded, he thought he could get his daughter back faster.
Yeah.
That was not going to be the case. They were going to take Maya and keep her away from them. And one thing that you keep pointing out, why was Carl not taken?
Yeah.
If they believe it was Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah, why was not Kyle?
Why did they leave him there?
Yeah.
Because clearly there'd be a fear for abuse, maybe not Munchausen by proxy, but in maybe other ways.
Yeah.
Why was he left there?
If
there was such a fear for Maya's safety that they put her in DCF custody in a hospital, and then were looking for a medical foster family.
Why?
Yeah, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
No.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, it does not.
This is where I'm like, no, they have to have taken what Beata was telling them personally, rather than seeing it as a patient who is very in depth in what her child needs. What they could have done is gone, okay, right, well, for now, we'll get her, in a stable position, get her medical records, fill out these forms.
Yeah.
Get the medical records, look at it, contact them if you need.
Yeah.
And go from there. Treat the CRPS that's being diagnosed by experts of CRPS, for fuck's sake. Not just one, multiple.
Yeah.
And do it that way. What makes it 10 times worse is that they were charging the Kowalski's insurance for CRPS treatment.
Well, she did not get any.
Well, she got bare minimum.
Yeah.
And they were saying the entire time that she has Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sure, fine. But that's fraud.
Yeah.
That's insurance fraud. I think you're fine. And also, weren't they charging for stuff that they didn't actually do?
Yeah, they did.
Good lord. Anyway. Rambled on enough. Should we get going?
Yeah.
Right, well, we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
I need a, I can't, brain's broken a little bit.
I need to de-escalate a little bit.
Decompress, isn't it?
Yeah, decompress. That's a better word.
Anyway, comment, like, subscribe, all that fun jazz. Don't have to, but it would be nice. Stay hydrated, pet a cat, wear sunscreen.
Don't eat yellow snow, and do not trust the seagulls.
And don't shit in the bed.
Do not shit in the bed.
Yeah.
Don't do a turd.
Well, you can do a turd, just try and aim for the bowl.
Yeah.
Well, toilet bowl, not a bowl.
Yeah.
This isn't 2 girls, 1 cup. Ew. Anyway, bye guys.
Gary.
What?
Bye.
What? Why did you say that?
And Gary.
You said gay.
No, I said Gary.
You said gay.
No, I said Gary.
You said gay. We'll listen it back anyway.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye guys.